All right, perfect. All right, so you have a prediction, and I want to hear it. It's because it was definitely a very controversial prediction. I feel like.
You feel like it was?
Well, especially the numbers that you gave, because you gave specific numbers. So I want to hear your breakdown for this. So
Yeah.
so tell us what your prediction is.
So I filled out a map. So I'm looking at the map of 2016 right now,
Okay.
right? And out of the states that I feel like could potentially flip, I feel like we have Michigan, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. So let me go back to
Okay.
my blank one. So I have it. Hold on.
Let's see.
All right. So I have 288 to 250, right, in favor of Trump.
288. Okay.
So I
All
have
right.
Trump holding Wisconsin, holding Michigan. I have him losing Pennsylvania, and I have him losing North Carolina.
Okay. And so what are some of your reasons? So for the ones that you think that Trump's going to win, what are some of your reasons for that?
Okay, so Florida to me is going to be a big one. I feel like Trump has to hold Florida. I know I sent you an article earlier. I have it pulled up, but the early voting lead for Biden has gotten smaller and smaller as the early ballots have casted.
What's he up by 50,000, 60,000?
The last article that I saw had it, I believe, at 100,000.
Is it that much? Okay. All right. Still. All right.
So in Florida, I mean, I'm from Florida, so I'm from Miami, so I feel like I can give a really good insight into Miami because I went to college there, obviously, or whatever. Miami in Miami County, like the county that Miami is in, never goes blue. I mean, never goes red. Like it's always blue. Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach, like are the three major counties in South Florida. They always go blue. So right now, Biden has only a 2-point lead in Miami-Dade.
Now, Hillary lost Florida by 100,000 votes, roughly, right? But and so, I mean, if he has 100,000 lead right now, I mean, he could perform as well as Hillary. Or what do you say?
But she crushed him in Miami, Broward, Palm Beach, Orlando, and Tampa, the county that those are in, Orange County and such. And right now, Biden is losing the county where Tampa is located. I feel like he'll win that when election night comes out because Florida is a very what's the expression they use? It's God's graveyard or God's waiting room. You know, like you know what I mean?
I think I've heard that before.
Yeah, because all the older people are there, and they're very vote in person. You know what I mean? They're very So I feel like Trump is going to very overperform, and I feel like the early voting numbers are very alarming when you see Palm Beach, and Miami-Dade as like swing counties in Florida. Because if Trump performs well in either of those counties and wins them, he'll definitely flip the state, and it'll stay red.
All right. I mean, I think that's fair, but he's gonna have to outperform in other areas than just Florida to get to the numbers that you were talking about. So you also said Wisconsin. Now I'm trying to pull up the polling for Wisconsin right now. What is your rationale for him? Because I believe I'm pretty sure Biden is up in Wisconsin. Is he not?
Yeah, Biden's up. This New York Times has him at 11. I feel like I don't know. I feel like Trump did very well in Wisconsin in 2016. And I feel like that's somewhat of like the Hillary effect. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, a lot of pollsters get those numbers wrong. So I feel like Trump will hold Wisconsin.
And that that's even with allegedly, they adjusted the the polling to account for like a secret Trump vote, like because I believe that last time around, obviously there was a decent amount of people that were wrong. And they adjusted for that. Do you think that it's still wrong?
Yeah. So I don't know. So I heard a different claim, but it's like the Trump shame. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people want to vote for Trump and they're going to vote for Trump, but when they leave the polls, they're not going to say they voted for Trump. Even if you give him Wisconsin, like if I just give Biden Wisconsin right now, I mean, that's at 260 to 278. So, I mean, he would have to flip.
Well, so that's what some of your other assumptions. So what are some other controversial assumptions that you're making?
I feel like there's no way Texas goes blue.
I don't think that Texas. I don't think that Texas needs to go blue for Biden to win.
But you think so? You would think he would then need to win Michigan or Ohio. Because if he won Michigan or Ohio,
I believe this is 538's website. It's called 270 to win, and it has Biden winning. Let's see, Nevada, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, Wisconsin. It has him winning Wisconsin. It has it light blue, so not by a lot, but it does have him winning Wisconsin.
It has him winning Arizona.
It does. Arizona is also light blue. Let me see. Maybe if I click on it, it will show me what the polling is for that. This is just
so Arizona by the latest Emerson poll has a 2-point lead, and Biden has a 2-point lead in Arizona.
Yeah,
he also has a 2-point lead in Nevada. I mean, that's within the margin of error. So I mean, that's close.
It is within the margin of error, but I think that you're not going to see the polls underperform for Biden as much as they did for Clinton, because I think that Biden is a much more likable candidate than Clinton was, and I'd be interested to hear your take on that, because I think that there were some things that made Clinton uniquely bad, and I don't think that those things apply to Biden.
I definitely agree with you that Biden is a more likable candidate, and I think Kamala is a very more likable than VP than
Oh gosh, then what was his Tim Kaine?
Tim Kaine. Like Tim Kaine was crazy. I mean, she could have picked anyone. She could have picked Elizabeth Warren. She could have picked Bernie Sanders. Like anybody would have put her over the edge, and she picked Tim Kaine. I think he was from Virginia, right? Like some random governor from Virginia or senator.
Yeah,
was he senator?
He was a senator from.
I want to say it was
such a horrible pick. You've never even heard of him since the election. Like that's how you know it was bad, is that you never heard about him again.
Yeah, and the most cringy tweet he had was like the NRA gave him an F, and he's like the one grade that I always wanted.
It was so bad, but no. Even though I don't like Kamala Harris that much either, but I agree she's better than Kaine was. So what reasons are you pointing? Because I mean we're coming through a pandemic. I mean arguably we're entering a recession. I don't think we're technically in a recession right now because of GDP growth. We saw this last quarter. But what reasons do you think that Biden is going to significantly underperform in the same way that Clinton did?
I mean, I think baseline, it's hard to unsee an incumbent president. You know what I mean? Like historically, when we look back over the last 4 elections, they've gone double.
Fun fact though, this would be if Trump were to win, this would be the first time in the history of the country that 4 incumbents in a row won.
What was it? Clinton, Bush.
So Clinton, Bush, then Obama. So they won, and then but it's never happened before with 4 incumbents in a row won. Yeah. Now who knows what that says, but
Tim Kaine was a senator from Virginia, by the way.
Virginia? Okay. All right.
I had to know. I don't know. So I think it's hard to unsee an incumbent. And I think the one thing that's going, I feel like this election overall is going to be hard to predict because of all this voting that we're seeing. What is it? 98 million ballots have been cast.
There's a lot of, I think there's more mail-in ballots that have come in from Texas than voted in 2016 at all. Like the more people have early voted in Texas than have voted in 2016. Yeah. And I think that's like, we're seeing that all over the country.
Yeah, so I saw that in Georgia, like the county that Atlanta in had a 238% increase or something like that in early vote cast. So, I mean, I think you
got to think that goes to Biden, though, right? You got to think that goes to Biden.
Yeah, I mean that probably. I mean, I think Georgia would be his. But I just looked at Georgia. Where was I looked at? Trump is winning in Georgia by 2 points and by 1 point in the latest Emerson poll.
Yeah, this new 538 has Georgia as like a gray state. If it has Trump winning by 2, that'd be crazy for Georgia to go Trump. And it has I can send you the link here. I'm gonna send you the link of what I'm looking at in the private chat.
Is it what's the website?
There you go. It's called 270. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it. And so this like it breaks down like it's an aggregate of like all the different polls, and it gives like a prediction. It has Biden at 319. I think that's super overestimating things, but that's what it's got him at. And
so the one that I'm looking at, unless this is Oh, I might be on the same. Oh, I'm on the same website, so it brought me to. Oh, okay. The final forecast, I'm assuming, is what? Yeah.
And for anyone watching, the name of this site is 270 to Win. It's the presidential election interactive map, and you can go through all the different scenarios with it. And so, I want to see the map look more like yours. So you had Pennsylvania going to Biden, right?
Yes, I did. I gave
in your prediction.
Yeah, I had Pennsylvania going to Biden, and so I'm on Real Clear Politics, and Biden has in the latest Emerson poll, he has a 4-point edge. Trump has a 2-point edge in one poll, and Biden has a 6-point edge. The first two are within the margin of error. I think what really I think kind of blows my mind, and the fact that all those states like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania all went red in 2016.
Oh, I think that. I mean, one, if you look at the number of rallies that Trump held in those states, I think that was a big reason for it. I think that his rallies really drove out turnout for him, and then just Hillary Clinton with her connection to different trade deals that I think really hurt those communities. I think that was one of the main reasons.
I think you also see it in today, the fact that Biden was in Pennsylvania today. I know Biden was in Pennsylvania today. I know Kamala was in Pennsylvania today. The fact that he's campaigning there today makes me a little worried that he thinks he could lose Pennsylvania.
Okay, see, I've heard a few people say that, and I don't. My thought is the reason that you're winning there is because you campaign there. You know what I mean? Maybe you think that they've seen some internal numbers that are saying that they're not going to win in Pennsylvania, but maybe it's. I mean, Biden's. If we're looking at polls, Biden's up in most states, and so it's kind of just it's a little bit of just a where would I prefer to be right now?
So saying that is interesting because President Obama today was in Florida, and I feel like Joe Biden would have probably done better going to Florida, having him and Kamala Harris down in Florida than President Obama. Even though,
here's the thing, though. I think that Obama is a bigger tool than Biden. Frankly, I think that Obama is going to be more. Do you know what I mean? I think that people like Obama more than they like Biden, and I think that's why.
I was at FIU in college when President Obama came. And I mean, you're right there. He has a huge fan base. They shut down the entire, it was crazy the amount of people that showed up to hear this man speak. So what is your prediction? I'm a little curious. What do you think is going to happen?
I think Biden's going to win, but I think it's going to be close. I think a popular vote, I think it's going to be a blowout. I think he's going to win by significantly more than Hillary Clinton won by. You haven't talked about the popular vote yet. What is your take on that? Do you think he's going to win the popular vote or no?
Biden?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just numerically with how many Democrats there are. I think that's pretty clear. But yeah, I think that Biden is probably going to win Pennsylvania. I think he's going to win. Florida is up in the air, but I think Wisconsin. I think that he's going to do Michigan. I think he's going to get Michigan. I think he's going to do better.
Just to go back to the popular vote, Hillary won by 3 million in 2016. I definitely think it probably gets closer to 6 or 9 in this election.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that's and also that's what the national polls are showing. It shows Biden with roughly that kind of lead. But yeah, I think that because Hillary lost Michigan by such a slim margin. I think it was 2 votes per precinct is what she lost Michigan by.
So she lost Pennsylvania. She lost Pennsylvania by 0.8. She lost Michigan. Michigan too was close. What really shocked me was Hillary didn't really campaign, I don't believe, in Ohio. And I remember seeing her, maybe it was Michigan. It was one of those states, but I remember seeing her and LeBron together. And I feel like LeBron would have been this huge draw, and it really wasn't. That kind of blew my mind.
I agree.
Do you have a number, or are you just you don't really want to give a pinpoint?
I mean, I could, if we want to talk about state by state, I mean, we can definitely, I guess maybe I could give a number. I mean, I'm just looking at the aggregate polls and just trying to get a rough estimate, because I don't think that it's you're never going to be able to call each state exactly. But I think the general trend is that Biden has a larger lead than Clinton in basically every state than in 2016. And so even if all those numbers, I saw this was by a different website, but it was if Trump won every state that he's up by, every state that he's tied in, and every state that he's down by 5 in, he would win by 278. So that's only 8 electoral college votes if he swings every poll by 5 points. And I got to think that that's not likely. You know what I mean?
I really feel like a lot of people are saying Texas can turn blue, and they're giving because even like on the Real Clear Politics, like on their interactive map, they give Texas like a swing state or whatever. And just I don't want to say, I don't know, maybe it was too late, but Joe Biden's comments in the last debate about like fracking and oil and the Green New Deal, that's gotta hurt his take in Texas.
See, that's interesting to me because Biden, he said he doesn't support the Green New Deal, and he said he doesn't want to get rid of fracking. So, I think that maybe, or are you saying it's just more like the perception of Biden, or just?
So he said he doesn't, he wouldn't create any new permits or whatever. So like he would eventually phase fracking out. So and essentially he's saying eventually we're going to kill it.
I think that is probably. I hope that that's what he supports. I think that we should end fracking, but like as someone that thinks that that's the direction that we should go, I don't feel confident that I know that there was stuff like in the Democratic debates where he said stuff like, oh, we need to like end subsidies to fracking companies or something like that. I think that's just him trying to appeal to a left base in the Democratic primary. I don't think that that's something that he actually has plans to do. I don't know. And that kind of actually speaks to, I think that something that was one of Trump's flaws is that like saying that Biden is this like radical Marxist. And I think that like a lot of people see Biden and they're like, he's just like a moderate guy. I don't know. Like, what is your take on that? I feel like Trump has run a much worse campaign this time around. And I think that that's one of the main reasons why he's going to lose.
Well, I feel like it's harder to attack. So like, think about like with Hillary, like he had easy talking points.
Yeah.
To just go after her, like, Benghazi, all the lying, the emails, like he had things that he could just hammer away. And even I remember watching the debates and like it flustered Hillary Clinton. She like got like visually upset. And I don't think he found that, like, what did he call Hillary? Crooked Hillary?
Yeah.
Like he didn't have that like that punch, you know what I mean, to Joe Biden.
Yeah, Sleepy Joe wasn't. It's not because then when he goes in the debates and he's not like asleep, then people are like, like what are you talking about?
I definitely feel. Like I don't know where you stand on this, but Joe Biden's not coherent.
I think that he is definitely has slowed down a significant amount. I think that Trump isn't any like walk in the park. I think that he also shows some pretty clear signs of cognitive decline. If you look at like videos of him from when he was younger, I don't think that either of them are super good in that department. It's kind of the same thing. I also think it's a problem. The Republicans have seemed to have just hammered in on this Hunter Biden story this close out from the election, and I gotta think that some middle class worker in Michigan could care less about Hunter Biden. You know what I mean? They care.
And I'm with you 100%. I'm with you 100% there. Like that was not the storyline to go with. It really wasn't.
And I don't, maybe it's setting up for Senate Republicans are hoping to maybe impeach Biden if they think that he's going to win. Maybe they're playing a little long game with that. But I do not understand the leaning into that this close to the election. Because if you go back to 2016, this close to the election, Trump was talking about like bringing back jobs, and he was talking about how he wanted to end the wars. He was much more populist in that regard, I think. Now he's just, he would say how the stock market doesn't represent the economy. Now he's just like, oh, stock market's up. That's what we should care about. And, I feel like he lost the spark that he had that like really got a lot of independent voters to come to his side. And right. What is your take on that?
No, I agree with you. I think one thing that is going to be interesting. So I was just looking at Florida, and then I was looking at unaffiliated voters, and there's like a 20% increase in unaffiliated or independent voters in some areas in Florida. And I feel like safe estimate 65 to 70% of those would go to Trump.
I think that's fair.
Because I'm a libertarian, every libertarian questions every libertarian, but I feel like libertarians in essence lean more right, than they do, left. And I feel like a lot of libertarians are going to look at it and say, Jo Jorgensen can't win. Am I really willing to vote for her and then have Joe Biden as president?
No, I think that's actually a really interesting point, because I think, what did Gary Johnson? He got 4 million votes in 2016. He got actually a decent number of votes.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Jo Jorgensen is going to get those kind of numbers. I don't even think close. So you got to think where are those votes going to go? Are they going to go to Trump or Biden? And
Gary Johnson, his best was he pulled at 9% nationally. And I remember that was the big thing was oh, you're not at 10%, you can't get on the main stage. And Jo Jorgensen never even came close to that. But I know a lot of voters who are just going to be obviously, they would not want to see either or, but they're not going to vote for her in principle and have Joe Biden become president.
No, I think that that's interesting, but I do think that a decent amount of the support for Gary Johnson came from people that liked the drug legalization, they liked the anti-war, they liked that he was pro-immigration. And so I feel like those people that voted for Gary Johnson for that, because some libertarians are they're libertarians, but they're more the social libertarian. I feel like those ones are less likely to go to Trump, because Trump is, the antagonist of all three of those issues.
I will say the one thing recently that has made headlines was Trump is definitely drawing down in Afghanistan, and he is drawing down from our bases in Germany. Now, a lot of those troops in Germany are going to Poland, but I know from a military demographic, that is a big deal within the military community itself. Is ending the war in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Okay, so I haven't seen a poll on this in actually a while, but there was something I saw, it was probably a month and a half ago, and it showed that Biden was up with people that were in the military. Do you think that was accurate, or do you think that was, just your general take on that? Where you stand?
So the poll that I saw was he was up between the ages of 18 to 34 is where he was winning, and then 34 and up, it was more Trump. I can maybe see that because 18 and 34 is more, I don't want to say you're lower enlisted or lower end of the spectrum, but it's lower ranking spectrum. Once you hit 35, you're into that, higher category of rank. So I could see it, but from where I stand, I definitely don't feel like Joe Biden has done enough to win the military vote.
That's interesting.
I don't see it. And I don't see it because serving, say what you not to, overly discuss, foreign policy and whatever like that, but just look at the military pay raises from, President Obama to President Trump. When President Obama, it was 1%, 1.2, 0.8%. Every year that President Trump has been president, the military has gotten a 3.1% increase in pay, every year.
Now, have those gone to specifically raises in the military? Have military members? Have they seen those raises?
Yes, and
or that's for defense contracting and stuff.
No, that's in the soldier's pocket, right?
Okay.
So, I feel like that is going to be a big deal because when service members that have been in for more than 4 years, they're going to remember, well, when Joe Biden was vice president, I didn't get those raises. You got to think about it. 3.1% is, I can't remember, a few $100 to a 19, 21-year-old kid. That's a lot of money to them.
No, yeah, of course. No, I think I the only reason why I think that you may be right on that, and I think that the military does traditionally go more towards a Republican candidate. But I think that the foreign policy has just been almost like a non-issue this election cycle, just because everything's about the pandemic and everything. And do you think that Trump getting coronavirus hurt him electorally?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it had to, right? Just saying that, oh, you shouldn't take it seriously, and then getting it, you got to think that hurt him.
Right. No, I definitely, I feel like COVID, I feel like if Trump loses, you could blame, I'd say 60-70% of it on COVID, on how it was handled.
People will blame COVID.
Yeah. I don't want to even if he inherited a good economy from President Obama, he maintained that. You know what I mean? Our economy really died when COVID happened.
No, I definitely get what you're saying. We don't have to turn it into an economic debate, but I feel like the 2 points of that are, one, when Trump was running, he would constantly say, the unemployment rate, that doesn't actually represent the country. There are actually people that are, not making enough, even if they're employed. And he would always say that the stock market doesn't represent, the actual country. And then he got elected, and then all he talked about, unemployment's down, stock market's up. And so it's just it felt like he lost touch of that. The fact that he was speaking to something that rang true to a lot of people. And then as soon as he became president, he's like, oh, all these numbers are actually accurate. And so that, that part of the economy, I think is interesting. But also, I think that a lot of people were expecting that a recession was going to come. There were a lot of, indicators for that. We're in the longest expansion that I think had ever had in the country. Yeah. And so I think that if it hadn't been COVID, I think that it's fair to say that there was probably a recession that was going to hit before, who knows what it would have been. Because it's the thing, recessions don't just, happen out of nowhere. There's usually something that causes it. And I think that the pandemic is what caused this one. And so I think that it's, I think that Trump could have handled this better because there are other economies that are doing better than we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely fair.
But
I'm curious to know, what are your thoughts on a lot of mainstream influencers, rappers coming out and supporting Trump? I know Like 50 Cent did it, Little Pump did it, Little Wayne did it. Even like Charlamagne the God, was talking about his podcast the other day, and he said like he saw the 65% tax, and he's like, I'd be paying that, and he was like really upset about it.
Wait, Charlamagne said that he was going to vote for Donald Trump?
No,
no?
He said that he was against Biden's tax plan.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so he didn't go that far out. I definitely think Joe Biden's interview with Charlamagne the God, the way he ended it, was not it.
Yeah, that was rough.
That was pretty cringy. But like, what's your take on that?
I think that it's significant that these people that are coming out and saying that they're supporting Trump. I think it's significant that a lot of them are saying it because of taxes, because I don't think that that's something that resonates with the majority of Black voters in this country. You know what I mean? When you look at the fact that Black Americans are like disproportionately likely to be born into poverty, I have to feel like learning that 50 Cent might get a tax break. I don't know if that is gonna drive home, especially in this time. I mean, we're seeing like record numbers of like protests in this country about like police brutality and such. If these people were endorsing Trump because they think he's got the best plan for police brutality, what's going on with reading the room of the country and seeing like that there's this civil unrest that's happening right now. If they were endorsing him because of that, I think that would be more significant. But I think 50 Cent, Ice Cube, they both said it because of taxes. Lil Pump, I don't know why he said he was going to support Trump. He said it because he's 16, isn't he, or is he older now? He's pretty young. I don't know.
He's got to be at least 18.
Maybe he's okay.
I know Ice Cube did a big thing about like the Platinum Plus plan that Trump came out with, and I know that was a big thing with like Lil Wayne. Like, they both talked about it. But yeah, I just think I think it's interesting because you definitely wouldn't have saw that support from them in 2016 with Hillary.
No. I just to rephrase what I was kind of saying, I think that there is a chance that Trump performs better with Black voters than he did in 2016. I don't think it's going to be enough to win, but I think that there is a chance. I think that has to do with the flaws of the Democratic Party, honestly, and the fact that Joe Biden decided to pick a prosecutor as his VP. I don't think that's helpful.
Yeah, I definitely think so. He did 8%
in 2016?
2016,
I believe so. Yeah.
I mean, he could definitely push upwards in like the double. Like, I could see it around anywhere from 12 to 15.
Yeah, I think I don't think it's unreasonable if he breaks 10. It's really interesting. I saw that Trump is doing better with Hispanic voters. That he's doing actually a lot better, and I think that Joe Biden has just his outreach to like that community. I think it's just been really, really poor.
Right, so that's my big reason for giving Florida for like Miami-Dade. Like Miami-Dade, like FIU is like 68% Hispanic, and you have such a large Cuban population there, right? And I definitely think Joe Biden and Kamala Harris missed the mark at getting those voters. And I mean, I think they're all going to go to Trump. And if Trump wins Miami, he will hold Florida.
I think that you might not be wrong in that, and Florida's a big state. Don't get me wrong, Florida is a very, very big state, and a lot of projections I've seen are that Florida will go Biden, and so like I mean that definitely changes things a lot.
I think if I was to give Biden a pathway to victory, I would give him Michigan. Oh, well, that would do it. If I gave him Michigan, that would do it. So he would have to win Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. North Carolina is going to be a big one. North Carolina, from everything that I'm seeing right now, is like leaning blue. But I mean, obviously in North Carolina, we have huge military bases. Like the Marines have one, the Army has one here. So I could see that flipping, but Charlotte and Raleigh are blue. Well, so if the votes get out there and they hold strong, they may outperform the rest of the state. But if Trump wins North Carolina, even with Biden winning Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, he loses. Trump's at 277.
I think
that's under the big assumption that Ohio stays red, because I think
that is the big assumption.
Yeah, from like real clear policy. And obviously, you and I are speaking. We're making assumptions. You know what I mean? Like you never know. What did I just see? Ohio, Trump up by 4, Biden up by 4. There was one 2 days ago with Trump up by 5 and Biden up by 1. I mean, if he can flip Ohio, I mean, that's huge for Biden.
No, I think obviously winning Ohio would be massive. I think that North Carolina is pretty likely to go to Biden, in my opinion, just because in the primary he won like North Carolina like super dominantly. Like I think he had like record turnout and he like just won by like massive numbers. And it's honestly one of the main his performance in the primary is one of the main reasons why I think he's going to do well. Is just because he like did not campaign at all in the primary. Like he did the debates and everything, but his ground game was non-existent, and he still like crushed it in the primary. Much to my dismay, I did not want him to win the primary. But it's just like because he was able to do that, I think that we're going to see the same thing this time in the general. I think that he doesn't, even though he hasn't had very many rallies, I think that people are just like almost just voting against Trump in that in that way.
So what are your thoughts about him picking Kamala as his running mate? Like, where do you think that was the right decision? Do you think that was the wrong decision? Like, how do you view that?
He pigeonholed himself a little bit in the debate when he said that did he promise to pick a woman of color, or did he just say he was going to pick a woman?
I'm pretty sure it was a woman of color. Like he said, I'm going to pick run with a woman of color.
And so I think there weren't as many options. Just numerically, there were less options at that point. I wish he had picked someone like a Bernie Sanders, or even someone that spoke to maybe the left leaning side of the party more. That would have been my preferential. I also wish he hadn't picked Kamala just like long term, because I think that she's going to run after him, and I really don't want her to be president. I'd rather her than Pence, but she's not my favorite. And so I don't think that she added anything to the ticket. I mean, when you pick someone that dropped out before there was even any voting in the primary, I don't.
And she performed really, really bad on stage, if I remember watching that correctly.
Some people think she was good. I didn't think it was that great. Okay. I don't know. When you pick a VP, you hopefully want it to be someone that's going to bring in some new voters, some people that maybe weren't going to vote for you, or bring more excitement. And I don't know. I just don't know what she did. Okay in the VP debate. I personally think she did better than Pence. Maybe you disagree. But I think that she hasn't hurt the campaign. So I don't think she was a bad pick. I just wish that Biden had been more bold and picked someone that had
So my thing with
different than himself.
My thing with the debates was, I feel like the first debate, I mean, that was crazy. Like, I remember watching that. I was watching that with my roommate, and like we were just like, this is insane. I mean, the second presidential debate was way better. The debates with Pence and Kamala was super. I was uneventful. Like, I feel like they both spoke really well. Kamala Harris, like, she had, her good comebacks. Pence had, whatever he said. But I remember, like, when the fly is trending on Twitter about the debate, I mean, that's just, that tells you all you, like, no one watched that debate with the intent of learning who they were going to vote for.
No one changed their mind.
Yeah. And I mean, that's maybe good for Biden because, he holds his numbers. But I definitely don't think, they want anything. The last debate between the two was way better, obviously, than the first debate, but they were pretty uneventful. Like, I remember watching the Mitt Romney debate and Barack Obama debate, and that was like, eventful, good, it had some good content to it. But I mean, these two, it was nonsense.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't like that Reagan Mondale debate when like Reagan just had that killer line against what is it like? I promise not to use my opponent's youth and inexperience against me or something. But just like when he won 49 states, like there was nothing like that. But I think you made a really good point where it's like I don't think anyone got their mind changed by the debates. But if Biden's up, you got to think that like benefits Biden. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think it's gonna be interesting. I have a call for work in like a few minutes, so I'm gonna have to head out of here. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, man. I guess we'll meet up after the election and talk about.
Save your map that you have. I'm sure you're gonna have it saved, but it's
great. Yeah, it's great. So we'll talk about after the election.
All right, that sounds great. This was really fun.
All right, man. See you later.
All right, see ya.